Number 1. The Storm. I am in my early 20s, and I didn't go to college, and I don't have a good job. My lifestyle sort of reflects that as well. I do good, honest work though. I work at a convenience store, and I am able to afford a decent studio apartment. But the apartment complex doesn't have a laundromat in it, so I have to walk into the shopping area and go to the laundromat there. This happened on a very hot summer day. I really didn't want to go out, but I needed clean clothes. I didn't have anything that would get me by another day, so I packed up 2 bags. I guess I probably should have mentioned that I don't have a car either, which is why I have to walk to do my laundry. Immediately upon stepping into the heat, I knew this was going to be a bad day. It was about a half-hour walk to my destination, and I would be sweaty and tired by the time I got there. The sun was beating down on me so hard that I thought maybe I had somehow pissed it off. But thank God that the little laundromat was air-conditioned. Furthermore, I was quite happy to see that no one else was there. Laundromats are a little more bearable when you don't have to deal with other people. I got my laundry done. I packed it up in my bags and went to head home. I looked behind me and noticed some dark clouds moving up behind me. They didn't seem close enough to catch me before I got home, so I didn't worry. However, it only took them 5 minutes into my 30-minute walk to completely take over the sky. I felt the air pressure drop, and I was positive I would not make it home in time. At that time, I was walking through the parking lot of a shopping center. It was nearly empty. I think this happened on a Sunday or a holiday. I can't really recall why there weren't many cars out there. The rain started falling lightly, and I cursed under my breath. Okay, maybe I cursed a bit louder than that, but at least there was no one around to hear me. Right then, much to my surprise, a black luxury car pulled up beside me. The window rolled down, and the driver asked me if I had a long walk. I let him know it was not too bad, but I wasn't sure I'd make it. He offered to give me a ride home. Now, for those of you that are walkers, you might understand this more. I tend to not accept rides when I am walking. I will always thank the person offering, but it's akin to hitchhiking. You never know exactly what is going to happen. You never know if you're getting in the car with Ted Bundy or something. This day, though, it was worth the chance to me. I know that sounds silly, but it was the way I was feeling. I accepted the ride, got into the car, and told the guy where I was heading. He locked all the doors, but I didn't think about that too much, because a lot of cars nowadays do that before driving. I didn't get any sort of creepy vibe from this guy. Not really. He was about my size. He was obviously very well off. His car was nice. His clothes looked like one suit would cost as much as my entire wardrobe. He talked and was relatively friendly. The rain started pouring pretty badly. Bolts of lightning were streaking across the sky. This was an intense storm. The man seemed happy about something, chuckling a little bit. When I asked him why, he replied, "Because I'm going to take you to an abandoned house and murder you." The thunderstorm just makes it more exciting for me. I can't really explain to you what I felt. I'd never before, nor ever since, felt the shock of emotions that went through my body at that moment, and I knew he wasn't joking. Somehow, I knew he was dead serious. My reaction was taking my over-shoulder bag, which had some heavy items with it, and I slammed it into the guy's face. The car lurched as he let go of the steering wheel. I guess he panicked too. And when he got a hold onto the wheel again, he pulled the car to the curb. I then unlocked the door. Before I had a chance to get out, though, he locked it again. He screamed, "Oh, I'm gonna make you suffer." But I hit him over and over again with my bag before he finally unlocked the door. I grabbed my bags and ran out into the rain and mud. I didn't care how dirty or wet my clothes got. I just wanted to get away from that man. I ran into a nearby store and asked the people there to call the police. As I was in the store, the man left. The police, being very friendly and kind, gave me a ride home. Number 2. Cabin in the Woods. Back in the summer of 2006, my family, myself, and my wife, at the time we were dating, were continuing our summer tradition of vacationing in Maine. We had rented out a cabin in the woods in Booth Bay, just a 15-minute drive from Booth Bay Harbor. When we got there, it had a weird vibe to it. When my wife got to her room, the date and time would change to midnight, January 1st, 1900. If she went into the rooms next to hers, her phone went back to the normal date and time. I was supposed to stay in the in-law apartment in the basement, which had a kitchen area and a full bathroom. But as I looked around the area, it became obvious the air there was very heavy and musty. So I decided I'd take the couch in the living room, which had a trapdoor hatch leading down to the in-law apartment. For a while, nothing weird happened, besides the date and time on the phone changing, and that odd feeling of something being off. But at 4 a.m. on the morning of our last day there, I awoke and heard the shower running. I checked each room and found my parents, sister, wife, and grandparents asleep in their rooms. And that's when I realized the shower I heard was the one downstairs. I grabbed my 6D cell flashlight and went downstairs. I checked each area of the in-law apartment for any signs that someone had broken in, and I did so silently. And when I got to the area where the bathroom with the shower was, I saw the light on and steam flowing from under the door. I didn't know who or what was in there, but I knew even if a water pressure issue turned on the shower, it wouldn't turn on the light. I moved silently and positioned myself by the door. The moment my hand touched the doorknob, the shower shut off. I threw that door open lightning fast with that flashlight at the ready. But to my horror, the bathroom was totally empty. We left early that day, and we never rented a cabin again. Number 3. Snowstorm. I grew up in a rural area in Connecticut. Farmland in the front of my house and woods in the back of it. I had a keen interest in nature and the weather. I would hike in the woods with my sister. I'd show her all different flora and fauna and teach her survival techniques I learned in the Boy Scouts. She gave it all the very same attention anyone could expect a little sister to show in such matters. But she kept hiking with me, even if it's because my parents wanted us to go outside and play. As nice as those hikes were all year round, I loved hiking in the winter. No poisonous plants, no ticks or mosquitoes, and I knew the area well enough that snow didn't hide my trails. Little did I know how important that would turn out to be. That fateful winter day started out with the clear blue skies, perfect for hiking. So my sister and I set out. We hiked to a pond we liked to visit that was by a dairy farm. After spending some time there, talking about school, and talking about how awesome our Christmas presents had been and our upcoming trip to Disney, my sister remarked how she was surprised that there were no cows in the pasture. I hadn't noticed the cloud cover moving in, but I realized that something was off, and that's when it began to flurry. I figured we had been out long enough, and I told my sister it was time to get back to the house. And as we went to hike home, the snow started falling harder. We were halfway home when the wind started to gust up, and soon we were surrounded by a complete and total whiteout. I grabbed my sister with one hand and a tree trunk with the other and walked around the tree, maintaining contact, and turned my back to the wind to make sure any limbs that may snap in the wind would be less likely to hit us if any fell. This was a bad situation for fully grown adults, but my sister was 9 and I was 12. I knew enough to make sure we didn't get separated. As we waited out the gust, my sister began to cry, and she thought we were going to die. I quieted her and told her to trust me. When the wind died down enough for the path to become visible, I held her hand, pulling her along, as I quickly got us to the next marker tree on the trail, a birch tree I had carved a marker in. We were 3 feet from it when the wind gusted up again and the whiteout conditions resumed. I reached out into the white and put my hand on that tree, and again turned my back to the wind and held my sister close to me. I told her we would be okay and to keep calm. I shut my eyes and recalled the trail home and the other markers I needed to look for. Again, the wind died down, and again we moved to the next tree. And again, we moved to the next tree, and then the next. The wind had died down, and we were close to home. But then it gusted, and we were in a whiteout condition again. Only this time, we weren't near the next marker tree. We were about 30 yards from it. And by total luck, we were in a clearing spot, and the tree we needed to reach was the lone one in the clearing. I told my sister to be quiet, and I listened, and I heard the limbs and branches creaking with the strain from the wind. I held my sister with one hand and reached out with the other, and after what felt like forever, my hand felt the bark. We sheltered again. Then, almost as suddenly as the snow squall started, it died down. We continued home as a light flurry fell. As soon as we got home, I was given a talking to about how I should have headed home sooner, and a nice warm cup of hot chocolate. We never went hiking in the winter again, and I was sure to watch the Weather Channel before I ever went out into the woods again. Number 4. Encounter. His pale green eyes locked with mine from across the club. It was my first time out in the city. I had just moved here a week ago. I had left everything behind and ditched the crappy town that I had lived in my whole life. I wanted to experience the city life that I always read about from other people on Twitter. He was definitely looking at me. Neck-length, dirty blonde hair that framed a lightly shadowed jaw. Well, he was a dream. That was just above the neck. I hadn't had sex that involved another person in over a year, and my sex drive rushed to my head, along with the gin and Sprite with a lime. I call it a bitter lime. I was drinking. I felt the heat in my face, and I'm certain that my face turned beet red. He smiled at me. Leaning back in his chair, his white button-up was unbuttoned all the way to his navel. The image of his pale, smooth chest was just too much for me, and I turned back to my table and carefully studied the ice in my drink. I have a wild imagination, and the images it was conjuring up were not helping. I was in the middle imagining him exploring, that a drink was set on my table, and a voice like gravel coated in silver asked very politely, "May I join you?" He gave me no time to answer the question. Instead, he continued, stooping a bit to catch my eyes as I looked up. "You look lonely over here by yourself. Someone as captivating as you shouldn't be alone on such a fantastic night." I couldn't look away. I stuttered, of course, please sit." Again, with silver gravel, he thanked me for the invitation. Then as he sat, he brushed my hand. It electrified me. There were drinks, there was conversation, but all I can remember is swimming in his green eyes and imagining the two of us in bed together. We danced, and we drank some more. He held me close, after a particularly vigorous song, and whispered in my ear, "I can get a cab. You can come home with me. I have a large bed, and if you prefer, a very nice guest bedroom." He ran his hand across the small of my back. I suddenly felt very wrong. He smelled wrong. There was something poisonous about that silvery voice. He was too cold and too hard. I couldn't put a name to it, but I felt like a fly in a spider's web, and everything in me screamed, "Run!" I tried, but he had me in his arms. He was just a bit bigger than me, but he was strong. He grabbed my face with his cold, pale hand and forced me to look into his eyes. He spoke slowly and deliberately. I don't remember what he said. I woke up the next morning feeling worse than ever in my life, dehydrated, aching, dizzy, and hungry as hell. I gathered in my surroundings. I was in a motel room, a fairly nice one, with a bed and a nice armchair and a big flat-screen TV. There was a greasy brown bag that smelled of fast food sandwiches and a large bottle of water on the table by the bed. I was through my second one when I noticed the note written on an envelope. "Thank you for a wonderful night. I am sorry to leave you, but I had to catch a flight. Please be sure to eat and drink, as you are surely to be hungry and dehydrated. Please accept this gift as a token of my appreciation. You were delicious." Inside the envelope were 10 crisp $100 bills. The whole thing was so strange, I couldn't form any clear memories of the night after that dance in the club. But I felt like I had a good time, and $1,000 would make my life a lot easier. So I took the money. I only ever saw him again in my dreams. He's always calling for me. I'm not sure this city is for me. Maybe some place in the next state over would be better. Number 5. When I was late 16, I met him. I was flustered and all that when I saw him. We got together. Everything was fine for a few months. He started a fight with me. Emotionally at first, he dragged me down, making me feel so little about myself. Well, we should give him a name. Not his real name, but we will call him Tim. Oh, he had psychosis or something like that. There was a point, when he lived with his mom, that he broke a window, and it scared her. I had no clue about the psychosis, and I had been with him for a few months beforehand, before anything started. Tim started to get worse. He started with the hitting. He would push me off the bed. One time, he made me bleed from my ear. I had to go to the kitchen to clean it up. I remember I had to tell his mom I fell off the bed. He was her son. What else was I supposed to do, right? I remember thinking, it was just his illness. I remember when he would slap me. Hell, I still have a picture from when I had a black eye to this day. Couldn't get any worse, right? Tim started putting me down so much with the, "Nobody is gonna want you after me." I felt that was true. When I wouldn't want sex or if I had a headache, that is when he would start getting more abusive. I wanted him to stop, but it got to the point where I would never say no. Truthfully, I wouldn't say anything. I would think it would get better. I was stupidly hopeful. I had no clue until I was 21 that you could get wrapped up in a relationship. During all this, we moved into our home. It didn't get any better. It got worse, to be honest. That is, when you started spending all my money. I was trapped. Even if I wanted to leave, I couldn't. I got so sick of it one week, and I got myself an MP3 player. He wasn't happy about it. I got some music from a friend. Then it happened worse again. Normally, there weren't any face marks, apart from that one time. He hit me so hard. I can still feel it now. He thought I cheated on him. He used the line, "I walked into a door," with that one. There was a time when we thought his meds weren't working, so I went to the asylum to get it sorted. I had started to feel safe. He would come out, we would fight a little, but I knew when he was coming home. There was one point where he came home, and I wasn't expecting it or what came after. As soon as I saw Tim, my blood went ice cold. We started fighting. I guess my fight or flight finally came out. He picked me up and tried to throw me out of the house. I finally stood up for myself, dug my nails into him so he dropped me. I ran into the bedroom, locking myself in to call his mom to get him out of there. I was at that house for a few more days until I went to stay with friends. His mom helped me. He called her and wanted to talk to me, saying we could still be friends. I just laughed. I couldn't help it, and said no. Hey y'all, Killer Orange Cat here. If you'd like to read print versions of these stories, please check out the Killer Orange Cat subreddit in the link provided. You can also take a look around at the Killer Orange Cat merchandise store. There is a link provided for that as well. In the meantime, if you like this video, please let me know by hitting the like button. If you're not already subscribed to Killer Orange Cat, please consider hitting the subscribe button below, or using the icon of Ichigo the cat that will appear at the end of this closing. Feel free to leave me a comment to let me know what you think of the video, and consider sharing it with someone you think might enjoy it. You can always follow Ichigo and myself on Facebook and Twitter using the links in the description. If you have a story you'd like narrated on Killer Orange Cat, please send it to the address provided in the description. My main requirement is that the story is original, meaning it has not yet been read on any other YouTube channel. And whatever you do, please don't forget to make sure to check in your closet and check under your bed, because you never know where Killer Orange Cat might be hiding. Good night.